So I wanted to give a screencast that will help you perhaps better understand the grade on your paper, but even more importantly, the various stages of the LRS problem statement introduction. First off, again, just to refresh your memory before we look at some samples, introduction again, the framework or the background, the stable context is where we are presenting any information that the reader needs to know in order to understand the factual backdrop to whatever position you're going to be taking on the issue. So this part of the paper, again, is information that no one can argue with. It's factual, it's specific from the book itself. Oftentimes you would give the title, author, and genre. In the case of this particular paper, you may have your peer's name and even the content. I've chosen several frameworks to look at, again, to give you an opportunity to see how different students have interpreted what background information means with regards to talking about some aspect of Gaines's novel. So you can read this on your own, but what this student does is give some background about how the South was during this time period, how the different races, the African Americans as well as the whites, were segregated. And then we kind of move closer into the title of the novel, in Ernest Gaines's novel, Lesson Before Dying. Reverend Ambrose, the minister of the black church in the town of Bayonne, carried out many important social responsibilities in order to care for his community, such as visiting those who were ill and those who had trouble. It seems evident from this student's introduction that she will be talking about Reverend Ambrose in the claim, and her paper will be about his role in the novel. Our second example is even shorter. Basically here in just a couple sentences, it describes the discrimination against African Americans during this time period. They had to use different facilities, for example. They were put on trial for crimes which never occurred. And we go into the last sentence. Gaines, a black author, wrote a lesson before dying to describe the lifestyle a black went through in the early 1900s and promote sympathy for their miserable plights. Okay, so this would be effective as well. It's enough information, not too detailed, but again, with the introduction, you want to stay, I think, about a half to maybe 2/3 of a page at maximum. This framework is even shorter. This is 3 sentences, and it refers directly to the seminar, the student that is being responded to, and the last sentence, through her insightful remark about unfortunate results of individual perceptions, students discovered the source of adamancy and failure to instigate change in A Lesson Before Dying. So again, you could just have a few sentences. None of these are wrong. They're all perfectly fine. Depends on how much information you think your audience needs to understand where your paper is going. So there's no right way to do the framework. It's what you think is necessary. In the next one, in any critically acclaimed work, one can always find significance in gender roles. A novel features a specific meaning for women, and then we go into the quote. This may be a little bit too short and even starting too broadly. One of the ways that I think the Little Red Schoolhouse works well for you is that we get away from this funnel introduction, such as a broad statement such as this. This really doesn't do much to interest or pull in a reader to the paper. So again, if you look at how these other ones start, and I think I have one more, they are much stronger and they're less general and lead really specifically into the novel. This one about religious faith, for example, with the potential to help someone who is broken by offering that person hope. And then we move into Reverend Ambrose, and finally the statement in the seminar, which will be discussed. So those are 4 samples of frameworks. You could check out your own. Again, you don't want to give an extreme amount of information, as you're not writing an essay here just in background, but you do want to provide enough that you feel is necessary for your paper. So let's take a look now at how a couple students describe the current situation. All right, again, you want to give enough information that is necessary. This just talks about two main male characters and overlook the importance of the women. These critiques believe that women are flat characters, placeholders to balance out the staggering amount of male characters. All right, this is pretty good. Okay, so again, just kind of shifting into the belief that in the current situation or status quo here that women are flat and basically don't have much purpose in the novel. Okay. This one here talks about what many individuals may argue, that the Reverend was simply attempting to help Grant realize the potential benefit of allowing God into his and Jefferson's life. This is done with one sentence. Okay. Sometimes one sentence can do it. You'll see in the next couple samples, you need really several to offer up what the opposite of your claim will be. Okay. And it's hard to offer up or present in one sentence what the opposite viewpoint of your own position is. All right, this is 3 sentences. Okay, and this talks about how whites were driven down, and many people believe that they accepted their inequality, and this is really well put. This would be a really good status quo. Not too short, not too long. It's enough information to evolve into the shift. Okay, here's another one. After reading the novel, many believe that an absence of faith prevents Grant from liberating his community and holding justice. With no concern for religion, Grant depends on Jefferson to become a hero by confronting death with bravery. Okay, it's pretty good. I don't have the whole paper here to know where it's going, but again, in 2 sentences, we have an idea of what people believe. Okay, so those are 3 examples of current situation. Most of you did really well with this part. You can sometimes give too little information, but for the most part, many of you were able to articulate well what the opposite viewpoint or what the opposite point of view is. Okay, so kudos to you for that. So in this part, let's look at the shift. I think for many of the papers, this was really a strong point. You worked very well with these subordinate conjunctions, these contrasting conjunctions, which allow you as the writer to move from what the status quo is, what the opposition believes, into your own claim, your own debatable idea. So here's some good ones. While some may believe in the former argument, a more accurate investigation conveys that the Reverend, while unable to impact Jefferson with as much influence as Grant, was far more direct in regards to comforting and aiding the black townspeople with Bayonne themselves. Excellent. Here's another one, but blacks maintained a sense of perception, fought against everything they thought to be iniquitous or what was against them, what they felt unfair to them. Okay? And then 2 more. Although religion continues to lose believers in popularity, it provides the people of the Louisiana Quarter with a sliver of hope even during the darkest times. And then, however, unlike those who feel Jefferson could have evolved into a man himself, without the help of Grant Wiggins, he would have remained the hog which the white men believed him to be. Okay, all 4 excellent. I'm proud of you all for being able to understand the shift, and I think as you had a good feel for what the opposition's viewpoint is, it becomes more, I don't want to say easy, but more manageable for you to come up with a strong claim, which a good number of you did with this paper, or at the very least you have the draft of a claim. You do have something arguable, which may either be written quite clearly now, or may need to be tweaked a bit with some stronger language or even clarity. So as we move into the so what part of the paper, the consequences. So as we move into this 4th part of the LRS introduction, the so what part seemed to be a little bit confusing for several of you. Basically here what you're really thinking about is what would be the potential loss or the consequences from agreeing with your opposition's viewpoint, or what might be the potential gain or significance of seeing the issue or topic from your own point of view. What's either the loss of agreeing with the opposition, or what's the gain of going along with the opposite viewpoint, which will move into your claim. Okay, so what I did with these, and I'm not going to read them aloud, but I'll hold them on the screen for a few moments, is I included the shift, and then you can see how the so what transitions very nicely into it. Again, with the shift, you don't necessarily have to write a whole lot, because in the paper itself, if you were writing it, this is where a lot of your evidence, this is a lot where your reasons, evidence, and commentary are going to come into play. Some students wrote a whole lot under the so what, and in a sense, you were writing the body of the paper, and that's really not the purpose of this part, nor is it the purpose of any introduction. And I think those students would, if they began to write the body of the essay, would realize that they've said a great deal already in the introduction. So, okay, so this is a good one. There's another sample, and this will focus on the Reverend. It's a very nice one as we move from the shift into the so what. Okay, here's a third one, and I'll have to continue it in a moment. Okay, this is going to focus on the Reverend. He makes the point that he has witnessed people at their weakest moments, when all they can do to ease their own suffering is to lie to themselves and pray for a more benevolent future. Okay. And then I think one more. And this is a very good one as well. And then finally one more. And this will focus on Grant and the idea of being imprisoned, and it refers back to the student's statement. So I'm going to hold off on sharing the claims, because we'll go over some of those in class and look at those. But this is a template that can help any of you who had difficulty with this particular type of introduction. Again, it can be helpful in terms of coming up with a claim, or at least coming up with something debatable. If you refer back to the first paper we did, the turning point paper, if you go back and look at that topic sentence now, or what you thought was an assertion, and I suggested more so was a plot detail, you can better understand that when there's no opposition, when there's nothing debatable, there is no paper. So this is just a way to think about framework, the unchanging facts about the topic or problem. And if you're doing an issue, or even with this paper, you can start it with this sentence starter. Okay. And then the common or current situation, status quo. These would be an assumption which you don't necessarily agree with, which you're going to counter. At first glance, it may seem like such and such and such and such, and then we go into the shift. Maybe people have failed to notice, however, that just the opposite is true, or that there's another way to look at the issue or idea or topic. Then we go into the consequences. Show readers why they should care, what bad things will happen if people continue to believe the status quo, and what good things might happen if they stop believing it and come over to your side. And here's a sentence starter that you could use for this. And then finally the claim, therefore. So as a result of talking about all of this and suggesting that there is an opposite viewpoint, what is your claim, what is your opinion on this argumentative issue or topic? Okay, so I hope you've viewed this entire video or screencast. I welcome any of you to come in and talk about the scoring of your paper. Again, I didn't put comments on it. I did take some notes. You do have a little score sheet there, which parts of the introduction worked well, which ones could bear improvement. I think for a lot of these, they may have just been first drafts, just trying to work through this structure, but it is something that you will continue to practice throughout this year, and certainly 11th grade and 12th grade, and many colleges now are beginning to use this method of argumentation and setting up a paper. Okay, if you have any questions, please again sign up for a conference, come in during our learning seminar. I'll be more than happy to talk more about your paper and about the LRS method. Thanks for listening.